It's 5:30. I am going to call this meeting of the Township of Bumshoe Valley regular council meeting on Tuesday, June 21st, 2022 to order. Are there any additions to the agenda? I see none. I have a resolution dated this 21st day of June, 2022, that the agenda be accepted as presented. Can I get a mover and seconder? Tim, Merv, all in favor? Thank you. Is there any pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? I see none. I will remind everybody again that today is National Indigenous Day. As we gather this afternoon, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And I'd like to remind everybody that our permanent Truth and Reconciliation Garden, which is down by the water and sewer plant, the sewer area, by the Geo Trail is up and running. So thank you to Sherry Miller and her crew. And I hope that once the signage goes up, we can go down as a council and thank them in person. All right, I have a resolution dated this 21st day of June, 2022, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held on June 7th, 2022, as amended or presented, be hereby adopted. Can I get a mover and seconder? Tim, Brent, are there any errors or omissions? I see none. All in favor? Thank you. We have no delegations this afternoon. Reports have been filed. I have a resolution dated this 21st day of June, 2022, that the correspondence be filed. Can I get a mover and seconder, please? Jack, Brent, anything further on correspondence? Seeing none, all in favor? It's also official. I do. Is there anything on the check register or board report?
No, look good.
Okay, I have a resolution dated this 21st day of June, 2022, that bylaw 2022-039 being a bylaw to delegate approval of certain planning act matters. Bylaw 2022-040 being a bylaw to regulate the operation of large quadricycles. Bylaw 2022-041 being a bylaw to regulate the installation, repair, maintenance, and access to water meters. Bylaw 2022-042 being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and the character, location, and use of buildings and structures within the Township of Bumshoe Valley, and bylaw 2022-043 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be read a first time, be deemed read a second time, be deemed read a third time, and passed. I'm gonna ask for a mover and seconder to get it on the board. Moved by Tim, seconded by Jack. Discussion.
Yeah, I guess this about the zoning bylaw. I'm just wondering if we've exhausted. That's right. This is.
It is. It's number 4.
Number 4. I'm just not 100% comfortable. I know with the mapping and just that anybody that comes up with an issue that they'll be able to rectify any problems or concerns that they have. I know Bruce told us about the paragraph in there, but I'm just wondering if anybody else has any questions or concerns about it.
I was going to suggest something. So one of the things that we talked about is if it's an error, it can be rectified, no paperwork, nothing. If it has to be amended and they have to come for a minor variance, etc. I was wondering if we would waive the fees for those instances.
But the more concerned I have is if people want to put a building in and now because of the new buffer zone, they're strapped with a huge, or could be huge cost to verify that they can put a house closer
Okay,
to
the buffer zone is not going to change. That is straight from the provincial policy statement.
And you can build in it.
And you
It's not a
can't,
problem.
You can't
That's
build
right.
it.
Yeah.
You can build in it
yeah,
without having to verify.
Good to go.
as long as it's a lot, you're good to go.
Yeah.
So my new lot, there are wetlands behind that you saw on the
Yeah.
map. It's done. We can have somebody build on it.
You just can't sever. You can't create new lots. But I mean, how, like,
if you haven't already started your severance to start creating new lots, it's like,
Different.
you have to comply with the new
Yeah, but with,
Yeah.
no, if you went to sever, then the buffer zone,
kicks in, yeah.
Kicks
So
in
there's
the
already a
extra fund.
buffer zone there.
but it's
just
now
larger.
increased,
Yeah,
it's
So
larger.
then you would still have, likely, you would still have to do a study anyway. So even if the buffer zone is 150 meters into your property, if it's 300 meters into your property, either one creates, you have to do a study. Now, there will be the odd lot that maybe the buffer didn't touch and now it's touching a corner that would have to do a study, but that, I mean, that would be, you know, and those people may never want to sever.
Yeah, but would you have to do you wouldn't have to do a study if the house that you're building is not inside the buffer zone.
Even if the house that you're building is inside this buffer zone, then it doesn't matter. It's only if you're creating a new lot.
But and that when something comes to the county right now, it has to meet the official plan requirements.
Which the buffer's already in there for a severance.
So
it doesn't-
I guess my question would be, because the thing is like, the unfortunate thing is we're already to the new standard, we just haven't internally updated it.
That's correct.
That's right.
But the thing is I would still like to have, be at a public meeting or have planners here more available to the public because there was such a huge uptick. Just because this is a huge undertaking. Thing is we already had 30 residents at least to the last public meeting, the thing like, or more.
We had 30 there and we had closer to 50 at the original open house.
So the thing is I like, be it passes or doesn't pass, I think either way, we should plan to have
We can absolutely.
additional resources available multiple times and budget.
You know
for it.
what?
These are, our bookkeeping's been excellent for the last, well, as our auditor said, so we can spend the money to make sure residents are benefited from this. We don't want this to be a negative for people, and be it, I agree, I have no problem waiving minor variances when it comes to it, to make it appropriate, because, hey, nowadays you have to spend a lot of money on studies for
Mhm.
absolutely no reason, just because they're mandated. But I still think that as their delegation, hopefully we eventually get one to show them the aggregates, even though they're familiar, because this is a large city and we can do that lens.
But back to your original idea of having planning staff. The menu at the County of Renfrew from the planning department, we can ask them to come
Yeah.
4 times a month if we want.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Go ahead. He can't give up control.
Is there a way, so, and this was the part, so I really like the granny suites, the whole, like, there's so much good in it. It's a few of the sticklers, and you know where I've been stuck on for the last while. If this does pass, is there a way to directly contact anybody in the private property world that have had their EP designation changed on their private property? Because we do know that the buffers of the aggregate is provincially done. We're not gonna stop it here at this table. We're not able, we don't have that. The thing is it possible for Bruce to look at, you know, in Bonisher Valley, that if you or any private property that had an EP regulation changed, to have those people notified so that they can get that addressed as soon as possible. Because
Sure.
I see no reason that he couldn't.
that's a big, because that's my biggest thing.
But that's as easy as overlaying the map of two
That's right.
thousand and six with the map now and saying there was no EP on here, but now there
And
is.
directly contact those people, because with Rosanna bringing up that point, right, it really showed me that some people might be unaware of it yet. And I don't want those to slip under the radar.
Already probably are. The difference is like when, and the reason I say we need to have additional, say, people available to answer these questions or make it as public as we can, and even if we're all sitting there as well. And it's because it is a large undertaking, but when that GPS map or GIS mapping is available, people are gonna see a line and be like, oh, what is this line that's going through my place now? What is this? And they buy property. The real estate agent, in all honesty, probably wasn't familiar with a lot of these
And we can,
avenues and contour lines that are now coming through their property,
we
right?
can absolutely do that. We are onboarding more planning staff at the County of Renfrew.
Mhm.
So having a planner here sitting down and talking with residents. We witnessed it with our own eyes. We were both here that afternoon. They really appreciated it. And I think that's not a bad idea. But I think that we should also put it in our newsletter again, saying if you have concerns about your property, we have planning staff from the county of Renfrew that will come here and we'll fix it before it becomes a problem.
And I would like to see that, like I say, before, this gets completely, finalized, so. Just so they're aware, because I don't want anybody to slip under the radar and maybe lose out. in the
Well, it
future,
just
right?
because like. It starts at the top, it starts at the top down, we're the bottom feeders here. and
Yes, we
We
are.
have to put it out, and the thing is some of the aspects of it, in my opinion, we're passing something that is a disservice to some of our residents, we just have to go along with it. And that's.
Okay, so for some things I agree with you. It is a disservice
For some
of it.
things, yeah,
But for other things,
it's
we're
it's a benefit.
it's a,
And
it's a
that's-
huge
And that's,
benefit.
and that's what I'm saying, is that we need to have these meetings, be it's passed or not passed, following to these people make aware of what their
And I-
properties are guided.
Honest to God, we can put it in the newsletter and we can ask Bruce to reach out to EP people. Because that's the scariest one, I think.
And that's the one that has actually come down from, I don't think it's all completely from the province,
Oh,
that
yes, it
is
is.
county as well for the environment,
No.
is it, or?
No. that is
All province.
It's provincial policy statement.
Most of it is, yeah.
Well, yeah,
Like,
not all,
Majority of it is, majority of it is.
but
And-
that's what I
or-
mean, not
or-
all.
Or it's wetland, like we saw
Oh,
with
yeah.
one property where it's actually underwater.
Oh, I'm totally aware of that and how it can be confusing.
But-
The thing is, if there's changes of that regulation, right, on private property, I would like to see them notified a little more personal than just a broadcast or a blaster.
So-
Because as Bruce said earlier, it was
Yeah.
the minimal requirements we've met and a little bit above, which I do know. But I also know the way life gets people too.
We're a
I've
little
been
bit
self-
above.
I
We went way
I
above.
totally understand, but there was years that I was nowhere near a piece of paper. I was nowhere near a local newspaper or any of the sorts, right? And people do get into life, even if they are a upstanding landowner. But I would make sure that I don't want to see anybody fly under that radar, that's all.
So my question to you then, that's fine, we can look at the EP and we can contact each and every one of those individuals. There's going to be a cost associated with it, no doubt. But we can do that, as well as put it in our newsletter. So are you suggesting that we defer the decision until July 12th, until that is done? Or are you suggesting that we pass the bylaw as is and contact them? And if there are errors in the EP, then we will fix them as quickly as possible.
Well, this is one of those situations I don't want to ask for forgiveness.
Well, you're not.
But
And there are people waiting for the zoning.
Oh, I
bylaw to be
absolutely
passed.
know, and that's the problem, and like we've all said here, right? There's so much positive, and I would love to just say, hey, get going with that. Absolutely, there's a lot of great attributes in it,
Because
but
if it's not an error, it's not going to,
they're not gonna change it anyway.
I don't see them
Yeah.
changing it. Like if the
Unless
EP
it's-
is not,
Yeah.
If,
Unless
that's
it's a
right.
special case where you're like, we were talking about there today, where it doesn't affect the EP because of the water.
right, so
Exactly.
that
The water
wasn't an
if the
error,
water
that was
set-
correct,
if-
but there's still,
Yeah.
yeah.
They got
If
the
the water-
30-meter.
The water setback was
It didn't affect the
made up
EP.
more than
Yeah.
the EP.
That's
Either,
right.
either way, it didn't affect them one way or the other. It didn't make a change. So it was just easier to lift it because the property owner would rather not see it there than see it there, but it didn't actually change
It
anything.
didn't change where you're
So-
placing the house or anything like that.
so, Yeah, so, but if they were incorrect in doing it, then we can still change that. That's not an issue. It's where it's correct, but the property owner just doesn't like the way it looks.
Like mineral aggregate.
Now,
But that's not gonna change
That's not
anyways,
likely
even if we
to change.
delay it. But you're not gonna be able to change that.
no,
but I believe that anybody that owns land is a taxpayer, so they should have due notice, and if either way, as long as those people that have had changes on their private property are notified of that regulation.
so my question to you then would be, so if we send it out, if your concern is the environmental protection,
Mhm.
that is your concern. then we could send out the notices to everybody who has environmental protection changes on their property. Some will be able to be changed, some will not. So if it's an error, we know that's fine, we can fix that.
That's, and that's
If it's
exactly
not
right.
an error, if it's just, yes, that water is wetland, or yes, that water is underwater, but I don't want it to be labeled a EP, then that can be a discussion at the time to say, okay, well, then if it's going to be changed, it has to go through the zoning application process now, because it's not an error, it's correct, but they want it changed, they'll have to go through that process, and then council would have the opportunity to waive those fees.
I think that's the way to go.
But it would stay an EP for 3 months until that process was completed, which wouldn't really change anything, because if it's EP, it's probably already wetland.
But the thing is, and that it was the changed ones, the ones that were in existence prior to the last mapping. And that's why I always say, when we upgrade maps, you're gonna lose people in that little tornado, so to speak,
So that's-
right?
So you're only asking, I just want to land this plane,
That's right. I'm
You're
asking just
only
the
asking-
ones that have had their designations changed
from two
from
thousand and
six
six
till now,
to twenty
and to
twenty-two.
be directly notified. That's right.
For the EP.
For the
Yes.
EP, because the mineral aggregates and stuff, we're not gonna be able to do anything with
No,
that.
change them regardless.
That's,
Okay.
that's what it is. They've got the maps
I
unless
think- and
Bruce
I
said
think
they've
there- I
highlighted
think
it.
there's always the potential that, be it pass or not pass, there's gonna be other topics that are gonna come up and things that we're gonna have to.
Address.
I agree with you.
Like, it's not,
And guys,
it's not the end of the chain. The thing
There's the
is like,
appeal
this,
session.
this is gonna be the 2006 one. Unfortunately, we try to make it more concise, but it becomes more complicated. And that's the
yes,
unfortunate thing.
and that wasn't the intent, of course. The intent with the new official plan was to relax regulations, which is what this zoning bylaw does.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, in the catch-up, where we weren't using that new mineral aggregate buffer, that's been in place from the province since, I think, whenever the last PBS was done, 2018.
Then it was redone in 2020.
Okay, yeah, so, I mean, we're creatures of the province, you said it. We're low people, we're the bottom feeders, and some of these rules, we do not have, Kathy's giggling, we do not have the ability to change them. And again, I promise you, through the time that I had to deal with the OP and with the province, we did a lot of pushback, and that was one of them, but you know, we lost that battle, but I think in the end, we won the war. And now that I've said to Bruce that I thought it was 22 items, I think now that I'm thinking about it, it was closer to 40 items. And we won almost every one of them. So I consider it a win. If you were going to vote against this, I would need a motion to remove this from this resolution and have a separate resolution for that particular bylaw. Otherwise, I can call for the vote. Okay, all in favor?
Guess we gotta meet it someday.
We still have the appeal process anyway.
Yeah, 20 years.
Thinking.
I can smell the burning over here.
I think, like, I know we're done with comments, but like my biggest thing is I think there's a lot of productivity with the, like, having something like a public meeting again. Be we have it afterwards or I just want to make sure I like having a panel.
Oh, not a public meeting, you're thinking
Just-
another open house.
Just an open house or a panel to make it available,
Absolutely
and
do
if we
that.
need to do two more, then we should do two more. Like that's the thing is. and
I like
fine.
Tim's idea of
Minor
reaching out
variance.
directly.
Well, you have to reach out directly.
Yeah.
It's 4,000
What-
repairs.
What can we really change anyway?
Nothing, basically.
Like if there's an error in the EP, they can change that after the fact anyway.
I think this is gonna direct the lobbying we're gonna have to do afterwards if there is issues, but it's to the like, from the province. If it
Yep.
comes from the province, comes from the county, we have to figure that determination out afterwards. So,
And that would require another official plan amendment. And it took 10 years to get this OP in place.
I'm down to the point, you gotta hold your nose.
I-
You gotta hold your nose.
I bet you, if I calculated in the 3 years that I was warden, I bet you we spent probably 1,000 hours on it. Like it was crazy.
Okay, so I guess what I'm hearing is, we would contact the people who had EP change, and we would also, come up with an open house to.
Just if people
Now
want,
that, now there's, yeah, to reintroduce it and to say, so this bylaw is now, passed. And we're just doing another open house for anybody who wants to double check what their property changed to. We're doing another one, so that you can have conversations with the planning or with staff and discuss it. And see what exactly that means to you.
and I also think that we should ask our planners to be here over the next couple of months, maybe more often than just that once a month.
Okay.
You have to make a decision, guys, because I have to remove this if you don't want to. We can't vote on all these bylaws with that in it if you're gonna vote against. Because one of them is the proceedings of council.
But my question, I guess, would be, what is the difference between saying yes now and yes in a month?
Because people are waiting on this.
People are waiting and people want to develop and people
Mhm.
want to apply for building permits and
Yeah.
people want to sell their lots. And they want to be able to say, this is a buildable lot. But at this point, you can't build in the buffer zone. There's certain lots that are zoned and you can't build in them. So you can't have secondary dwellings. You can't, there are more restrictions in the current bylaw than in the new bylaw. And so that's, if we put it off and defer it until July 12th, which can be done, and we pass it on July 12th, the question is, what are we going to change between now and July 12th?
We don't have enough time to
We
even.
don't have enough time. So if we defer it, we're basically deferring it to August 9th at the earliest. Because if we have an open house in the next few weeks, which can be done, then comments come back, then the county's reports come back. Having that done by July 12th, I'm not saying it's impossible, but that's tight.
I don't see
You
it.
won't have it
So
done by
now
then.
we could hold a special meeting as well, but we would, if we're going to make amendments, we need another open house, which you have to give notice for. Then we have to have another public meeting, which you have to have notice for. So likely August.
I
And
said
then,
September.
and then there's a 20-day appeal period, so it
Right.
doesn't come into effect until September. So anybody who was planning anything in this building period is out until next year. So that's the impact of not doing it, but also, you don't want to pass, if council really feels that this is not the zoning bylaw that the township should have. I think the county put in a lot of work. I think that we had a lot of meetings. I think we've had a lot of really good conversations. But if you truly feel that this is not the bylaw, I'm not sure what changes we can make, to be
Yeah.
honest.
We're not.
With the official
Like-
plan.
Well,
So
like
so I'm not
the-
sure what we're gaining by deferring it, but
But that's why I said that this is gonna end up leading towards well, maybe not what our council and probably the next one's gonna have to lobby towards. To
Yes,
changes
likely.
for our aspect of
It'll
it.
come through the county though.
and it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't mean that,
100% it's gonna
Yeah.
have to, but the thing,
yeah,
but we're also one municipality within the county, right?
Yeah.
And if our views in a small municipality aren't getting shared, then.
so I think the
But they are a brand.
question is, what would we change?
What would you
Like-
gain?
Like, we're
We're not.
deferring it, why are we deferring it, what do we want to change? We don't know what we want to change, so we're deferring
Mm-hmm.
it for the unknown, that's the only thing, and I'm fine with extra consultation. I'm fine with sending out those letters, we can have
Yeah.
another open house to introduce it
Okay.
to you, but if we're not actually knowing what we want to change, then we're deferring something without really knowing why we're deferring it.
Yeah, and when we're impacting other people that
And
are
we're impacting
waiting.
other people.
Exactly.
because of it.
Waiting
But-
They
long
have
time.
contractors, they have builders, they have everything all
And it
scheduled.
can
so-
still be changed. It's not like you can't amend
Yeah.
it. It's an amendable bylaw in the future.
I was gonna say, it isn't written in stone and put on a mountain.
Certain things are, but we're not
Certain
gonna
things
change
are,
them whether
that's
we
right.
defer them or not.
We're not, and
No.
And it's
Yeah.
like for the EP, they're gonna be notified, so it does, they have time to come in and correct it.
Yeah, and we can do another open house too and have everybody come in and review and explain why, how does this impact me? And if they have issues at that time, we can deal with them.
Yeah,
If we can, some things we can
moving-
change.
moving forward with another open house if it's a public necessity,
Sure.
you know, I'm okay with that.
We can do that.
Uh,
for sure.
You know, as
Yeah.
information session after
Yeah.
of what this
Well,
really happened, because there was a lot of misinformation
Mhm.
also, right? Like I said, I've learned a lot about it in the last 2 months and I don't, it's a,
And if something
But
comes
you
out,
were
that
at
we
the
can still
open
address
house
it.
with me,
absolutely,
and there were a lot more people at that open house than there were at the public meeting,
yes.
which I was
yes,
surprised about.
yes.
And we can still address, if something were to come up at that other open house, or something were to come up from those letters, it's not that we can't address, there are certain things we can't address regardless. But it's not that we can't address them, it's just the process. What is the process for addressing them? Is it an error we can correct easy? Or is it, you're gonna have to apply for a zoning amendment, we're gonna have to have a public meeting, but we have to, if we're gonna defer it, we'd have to do that anyway.
Right,
So, you know, and then council can decide, yes, you know what, this was, we should have picked up on this sooner, you know, we'll let this, we'll waive fees and move this forward. So
Yeah.
there's still options, there's still ways, but there's
No.
certain things we can't
Yeah.
change, and it's not gonna matter how long we defer it.
And
At this
is
time.
it possible
At this
to get, is it possible to get those notifications out in the time it takes for our appeal?
Like, I mean, yes,
I-
probably, but I don't think that. I'm
No,
not
no,
sure
I
what
just wanna
that-
be-
I'm not sure what that
It
matters.
doesn't, it doesn't matter.
I don't
No,
think
okay,
it does,
okay,
right?
no,
So
I just
you
wanna make sure that I give the
Yeah.
opportunity enough
But
to where there is
people don't have to
discrepancies.
appeal to have their
That's
EP
right.
changed if it was an error.
That's
That's
right,
right, yeah.
That, right? Because
Yeah.
we have that
Yeah.
parachute clause.
that's right.
And they can, and even if it's not an error and they want to get rid of the EP, they can still do it after the fact.
Right.
It's just up to us to waive the fees,
Exactly.
But
waive the fees, that's all.
But I see what you're saying. It would be nice to get the letters out to the people with EP, and it would be nice to have the open house done
Before the appeal.
period expires.
And it gives, and that's what I'm
I
trying to
can
say,
understand
just
that,
so
yeah.
that if there is
Yeah.
the chance or the event of an appeal, it gives the opposition a fair opportunity to do
Yes.
so.
It's
Okay,
just the timing of it being the summertime, which is.
yeah,
It
just
it
hoping
is
we
what it
get
is,
people out.
you know, no,
Yeah,
no,
you're
it
right.
is what
You're
it
right.
is. I mean, we're
Yeah.
trying, right? So,
yeah, I think we can.
The
we
roads
can,
will
uh,
be nice.
do that.
Yes, they will be.
yeah,
All right,
Oh, oh.
so if anybody's gonna vote against, please tell me now, because I do have to remove this bylaw. I'm looking at you.
No, that's fine. It's like anything. You aren't gonna be thrilled with the documents, but the documents were given. That's why I said it's gonna lead to more like later on, but it's the battle we can't win right now, in my opinion.
I don't think it's a battle we'll ever win with the province, but. Anyway. Who knows, maybe with the next government. All right, with that, I'll call for the vote, all in favor. That is carried. And I have a resolution, we have no closed session, I have a resolution dated this 21st day of June, 2022, that the council meeting be adjourned at 5:58 PM. Can I get a mover and seconder?
Oh,
Tim and
that's
Chad,
me,
yeah.
yes.
All in favor?
Everybody wants to go.
Everybody likes